please welcome to the stage Bryce Papenbook.
I'm kind of short, so I'm going to lower this. How's it going, guys? Yeah, having fun? Awesome. I am having a good time, too. I've avoided the drop bears up to this point, so I'm pretty happy. Just wait. They're out there waiting for me? Yeah, I've been watching the trees. Oh, so they can go up on buildings too? Okay, I'll watch for them. You'll see on the news, voice actor mauled by drop bear. So, I'm just going to kind of open this up to any questions about me, about the voice acting industry, any of the shows I've worked on, or anything in general. Just feel free to ask away. And I'll just kind of hang out and drink some of this V, which we don't have in the States. It's pretty good. Like it. As good as the alcohol from last night? You can't really beat Jack Daniels. It's tough to beat that, yeah. All right, so any questions out there? Sorry, do you want to run the mic to them, or if not, you can just scream real loud, because I can barely hear anything.
Is it hard to voice act and put a different accent on or something like that?
Doing accents is definitely not my forte. I'm not great at accents. A lot of the characters I do are just sort of either younger versions of myself or different intensities or I don't know. Accents just aren't my thing. Actually, one thing I want to try to pick up is the Australian accent. So maybe at my next panel with a little bit of a smaller room so I can hear everyone, I'll teach how to do the American accent, and then I can pick up the Australian accent. Then possibly use that in something in the future. Yeah, next question.
Hi, is there a process that you use to get into character when you start voice acting, like before you record?
Yeah, everyone's process is sort of different. My process is yelling at people in traffic. In LA, there is tons and tons of traffic, and as I'm driving to the studio, I live in the valley. Like you hear of like valley girls. I live in that valley. So it takes me, even though it's about 10 miles to the majority of the studios, it takes me about an hour to get there. So traffic is pretty horrible, and the drivers are pretty terrible also. So yelling at other drivers is a great vocal warm-up. Works for me.
What was it like working on Bravely Default?
It was a great experience. When I first got brought onto the project, I didn't quite know what it was, but very quickly realized it was essentially Final Fantasy. And I grew up playing Final Fantasy. I played Final Fantasy 1, where you pick like fighter, thief, white mage, dark mage. So I love Square Enix games, and Tiz was a great character. And I kind of like the directing style also. It was a real fun game to work on. And the cast list was just incredible. I mean, it just kept going and going with different voice actors that I sort of look up to and idolize. You know, I want to be like those successful voice actors, you know, and it's great to work on a project with so many of them.
Did you undergo any training, or how did you get into voice acting?
So I'm not traditionally trained as an actor. My dad was a voice actor, and I was about 8 years old and skipped school one day to go with him to work. He was working on a show called Power Rangers, and he was the skeleton dude, Rito Revolto. And during, at the end of that session, the director said, "Hey, we need a kid." And my dad's like, "Well, he's a kid. Throw him in the booth. Give him a shot." And I'd been watching him, and I just kind of copied what he did, and it went well. And eventually, I started getting more and more things, more and more auditions, and that's how I got in the booth. But most of my vocal training was just from watching my dad and watching cartoons and prank calling girls in middle school. I don't think my voice has changed much since middle school, so I'm not sure if I'm ever going to grow up. But I definitely would call girls and pretend to be other girls on the phone. So that was a bit of vocal training for me. But there's no one way to get into the industry. At cons, I hear a lot of different actors give, their backgrounds and their ways of breaking in and the story that they went through. And it's pretty interesting that no one tells the same story. So I just happen to be born sort of into the industry, and I'm kind of carrying on the torch for my pops.
Hi. You mentioned that you grew up playing Final Fantasy and whatnot. So, what was it like playing Zidane in Dissidia?
It was incredible. A lot of times when you work on a video game, especially a high-profile game like that, they don't tell you what you're working on. So when I started the project, I had no idea it was Final Fantasy. I hadn't played Final Fantasy IX before the project. So I didn't recognize the character, but I felt like something was familiar. It was that kind of style. And when I found out I had just that fanboy moment, this is a dream job. This is amazing. I'm working on a Final Fantasy game, the games that I played as a kid. It was just amazing. It was so cool. That is the dream job.
What was it like doing Asbel from Graces of Tales of Graces?
Tales of Graces, yeah. Another great experience. Asbel Lant had about 3,600 lines. So to give you an idea of what that means, it was a giant binder full of scripts, and then another giant binder full of scripts, and then another giant binder full of scripts. So Tales took my entire summer, and it was a great summer. The director was Wendy Lee, and she's just a fantastic person and so fun to work with. So another great experience. Anytime I can step in the booth and work, I'm happy and having fun. It's just what I love to do. And it's so difficult to get roles as a voice actor because there are so many other talented actors out there. So to book things just feels amazing. And that was the first Tales game I had worked on. So it was a nice intro to Tales.
Hey, what other games did you work on?
What other games have I worked on? The list just keeps getting longer and longer. A couple that recently came out, we talked about Bravely Default, but another game called Danganronpa. Are you guys familiar with Danganronpa? Anyone? Yeah, a couple out there. It's a really cool game. I play Naegi, who's sort of the lead in the game. That's pretty interesting. There's all these kids that are stuck inside this school, and there's this evil bear that's forcing them to attempt to murder each other and get away with it to escape the school. So it's pretty interesting. Another game I worked on recently is Call of Duty Ghosts. Has anyone played Call of Duty? Nice. I play about 18 different army guys throughout the campaign, and in the multiplayer, I'm the first U.S. Army soldier you can select. So when I play the game, I hear myself getting killed a lot because I'm pretty terrible. My team's just like, what is going on with this guy? 1 kill, 19 deaths, great. But yeah, I worked on that, and wow, I should just Wikipedia myself. I've been doing this for quite a while, so the list of games is getting longer and longer. I've done a few other JRPGs. Yeah, there's some good ones out there. Wikipedia me.
Do you play the games that you do voice work for? And is it sort of surreal to hear your voice back?
Yeah, it's a really interesting experience. I've played a number of them. Definitely played some Tales of Graces. And it's awesome for me, but it's really confusing for my dogs. I have 2 Maltipoos. They're like little white fluff balls. And as I'm playing, they're just looking at me like, why are you screaming right now? What is going on? Like, who are you trying to murder, and how are you doing that without moving your mouth? So they get very confused. But it is just kind of a crazy experience to be able to hear yourself back, and also to be able to control what sounds are coming out and control that. It's really, really interesting.
Okay, hi. Do you ever watch like Disney movies or something like that, and you sort of see a character and you think, yeah, I could do that?
Yeah, actually, I like to. I drive my wife crazy because as I'm watching movies, I'll mess around and try to do the voice. But I could picture myself voicing a number of Disney characters. I worked on a iPhone app for Disney, and it's called Disney Princess Palace Pets. And I play Sultan, who's Jasmine's tiger. So he's just like a little tiny tiger. And that was kind of cool to see myself as a Disney character. Even though it wasn't a Disney movie, it was still pretty interesting to be able to see that. And now they have little toys in the US of my character. So I'm a little tiger.
What's your favorite like expression or not like quote, just like a noise a character makes, and can you make it?
Sure. So not a line, like you want to hear like an effort. Yeah. So some of my favorite ones were from Rin Okumura from Blue Exorcist. He gets pissed off and just goes, just kind of growls. I kind of like making those, all the pissed off sounds. All his just like, what the? That stuff.
On a few occasions, you're credited by other names, one in particular. So with that, I've never quite understood why voice actors would not want the recognition for obviously their work, but then also what brought you to this other name.
Which name are you talking about?
Dick Smallberries Jr.
That's a hilarious name. Oh, who would name their kid that? I don't know. Dick Smallberries Jr.?
For example, young Vash the Stampede in
Yeah.
Trigun.
Credited as Dick Smallberries Jr. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's pretty hilarious. Was it in the credits as Dick Smallberries Jr.?
No, I was just Wikipediaing you then. I was going through, there's a few of them like Dick Smallberries, Dick Smallberries.
Just sort of a joke. I was a kid.
Over here.
All right.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Like with Tiffany Grant, she associates herself more with Asuka because she that was her breakout role. Do you feel you have like a breakout role that you would, a character that you associate yourself with now? Or have you not found that character just yet?
I feel like the role that really brought me to the forefront of anime was Rin from Blue Exorcist. And I think that my own personality is kind of like Rin when he's happy. Not so much Rin when he gets pissed off and starts burning people and flaming up. More Rin when he's excited about just little tiny things and is just so enthusiastic. That's kind of me. I'm pretty much always smiling. And I feel like there was just sort of a connection to that character that I had. You know, there's some really intense emotions and really intense scenes that came through, and some of that stuff was sort of real. So I feel the biggest connection to that character. But I don't know, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. But I would say Ray. This V is some good stuff. It's pretty tasty.
Did you ever have to memorize lines?
Not really. Typically what happens for a dubbing voice actor is we go to the studio, and a lot of time we don't even know what we're working on that day. You show up, there's a script in front of you, and we go line by line. So they'll be numbered, there'll be a time code which tells you when the line starts, and you'll preview it in Japanese because we're dubbing it into English, so it's already been done before. So you preview it in Japanese, you get an idea for the length of the line and the emotion that's supposed to go into it. And what I like to do is be inspired by the original language, but not copy it. So you get an idea for the line, you read it, and then you deliver the line. So you just go one by one, so you don't really have to memorize them. But what I like to do is sort of memorize it as I'm delivering the line, so I'm not looking at the script. I like to watch the screen, because then you get an idea for if your timing is right. Because you don't want to deliver a line and do it too fast so it doesn't match the lip flaps. So if you can catch that timing and catch the emotion. Was anyone here for my efforts and reactions panel? Anyone catch that? A couple people? So I said in that panel, what I like to do is make the same facial expression as the character. So I always watch that also to see, you know, if they're nervous. A lot of times in anime, if they're nervous, there's a little sweat bead going down their face. Or if they're angry or happy, and I try to replicate that face. For me, it just kind of helps add to the sound. So not really memorizing, just kind of a quick memorize, watch the screen, and try it out. And then if you mess up, they just hit delete and you try it again.
Hi.
Hey.
Just wondering, does your spouse or partner have any quirks about the way you do voice acting and use it around the house?
Yeah, it drives her crazy. She's pretty quiet, and I'm not very quiet. So she definitely gets annoyed when I start doing it during TV shows but I've been with her since high school. So I think at this point she's kind of used to it. She knows that I'm going to be annoying. So she's accepted it at this point, and she's comfortable with it. I like to do the SpongeBob laugh as I'm watching SpongeBob. Ah!
So out of all the characters that you've played, which did you find the most challenging to take on, and why?
Most challenging. I think one of the most challenging things I've ever done is screaming like Kirito in Sword Art Online. His screams are ridiculous. They're just so long and so intense, and there's a ton of emotion that goes in them. We would record our entire session, do dialogue, and then save the last 15 minutes just for screaming. So that was definitely one of the most challenging things. Have you guys played Fire Emblem? Fire Emblem Awakening? I play Henry in that game, who is extremely happy about blood. So one of his lines is, "Yay, blood!" And when I looked at the script, I was just like, so he's dying and he's happy about it. This is interesting. So it took a second to get comfortable and accept that he was happy about blood and stuff. The director of that game, Patrick Seitz, was really good about pushing me further. He was like, push the excitement up 25 more %, get even more excited about blood and dying. And there's one point where he can propose to you. So I think the line is, "I'll love you until all the blood in my body leaves. Ooh, when do you think that'll be?" Something like that, yeah. So that was a challenge.
Does that mean you can speak Japanese or understand it?
Not at all. Not one bit. Before I get into the studio, the script has already been adapted and written. So I personally have nothing to do with adapting the script into English. There's someone whose job it is, most of the time they get a translation of the Japanese, and then they take that translation and they adjust it to make it better and to actually make sense in English and flow well in English. I'm sure you guys have seen a show that's not well adapted. It just seems like the English doesn't quite fit, and the jokes don't quite land, and it just doesn't really make sense. Those are not well adapted shows. A lot of times there's jokes in the Japanese that just wouldn't make sense to an audience who speaks English. So it's up to the writer and the adapter to make those jokes, localized and funny. So when I get into the studio, all that work is already done. Actually, the recording of the show is probably just a fraction of the work that goes into it. Because before I get there, there's writing and adapting, and then after I record, there's someone who goes back and mixes the show, who turns up volume, turns down volume, makes sure everything sounds clean and fits in with the sound effects, and that everything sort of flows the right way. And that takes a ton of effort and a ton of time. So engineers are extremely important in making shows sound good. So, no Japanese for me.
Hi.
Hi.
Some voice actors, when fans are like, "Oh, could you say a line in this character?" They have token lines that help them get into the role.
Yeah.
Do you have any that you use for yourself to get into like Rin or Kirito or anyone like that?
Yeah, there's what's called reference lines that are played every time you record. And I think the one for Rin, there are a few like, "What up?" That one, and "I'm gonna beat the shit out of Satan." Those are some good ones for Rin. Kirito, I think, "Link start." And the one I couldn't think of yesterday during my Sword Art panel, "If I die in the game, I die in real life." Those are some good ones.
You mentioned Patrick Seitz and Wendy Lee earlier. Are there any particular directors that you have worked with a lot or really enjoy working with?
Yeah, the director of Blue Exorcist and Sword Art Online, Alex Von David, is definitely one of my favorites to work with. I think that during, we spent so much time with each other during Blue Exorcist first. We became friends, and I feel like I understood his directing style. It was very easy to sort of push me to where he wanted me to be. I really like working with him because he truly cares about these projects. He's also the writer and adapter of both of those shows. He was also the director of Madoka Magica and a number of other shows. He's just awesome to work with. Another director that I'm working with right now on a show called Tenkai Nights. I don't know if that's hit over here. It's sort of a blend between Transformers and Legos. The director of that is Mary Elizabeth, and she was the director of Cowboy Bebop. She is fantastic to work with, hilarious in the booth. Actually, she directed me on Cowboy Bebop. I had one line on that show. They go to what I think is Mars, and there's a bunch of orphans, and there's one kid with a pot on his head, and in the script it said pothead. That's me. I'm the pothead from Cowboy Bebop. So
With
it's
your
cool.
role, sorry.
Oh,
With your
no
role as Red in Pokemon, this is a two-part question.
Yeah.
Were you a fan of Pokemon? Did you know much about it?
Yeah, actually, I played Pokemon Red growing up.
So what was your excitement? Like, discuss your role as Red, because obviously all of us grew up with Pokemon, so it all holds like a special place in our heart.
Yeah, it was awesome. I never expected to get anywhere near that show because Pokemon typically records in New York, which is across the country from me. So when Origins came out, they wanted a different kind of feel for the show. So they cast the show in LA to get a different talent pool. When the audition came through for me, I instantly recognized the character, and I watched a little bit of the show in Japanese, and it was like, wait a second, I've seen this before. I know what's gonna happen because I played the Game Boy game, the original Pokemon Red. And it was just an insane experience, being able to choose Charmander and do lines like, Charmander, go! And sending out Jolteon, and it was just so cool. So cool. And I never would have thought I would have worked on a show like that. Especially, the OG Pokemon Master, Red. I mean, okay, who likes Ash better and who likes Red better? I don't know. I've seen some things online like comparing Ash and Red, like how Ash took forever to catch Pokemon and Red caught all 150 in like no time. I don't know. It's crazy. I'm a fan of Red. But yeah, awesome experience.
Hey, how do you feel about the fan parodies of some of the characters you've done for the English versions that are up on YouTube? Have you ever watched them, and what do you think of them?
I've seen a couple, and they're all pretty good. I think there's a good Sword Art one. The only thing that stands out is him screaming, Sandwich-kun, something like that. But I definitely got to go on and watch some more of those, because I know they're really well done and really popular, which is awesome.
Hi. I was just wondering if you could scream out Demon Fang for me.
Like Asbel?
Yes, thanks.
You ready?
Yeah.
Demon Fang!
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. The V is done.
I heard you do Shugo in Dot Hack.
I do.
I was wondering if you could yell out, Data Train!
Now, I probably won't sound like Shugo in Dot Hack because I was 13 years old when I did that. So let's see if I can get my voice that high. Well, wait a second. I was 13. I think I stopped growing up at 15. My voice has changed a little bit in there. But I think Data Drain sounded like Data Drain! Something like that.
Just a question. What's your favorite Disney movie?
I like Aladdin. And funny that I'm Sultan. But yeah, Aladdin was always my favorite. The genie is funny.
I was just wondering, you said that this is the first time that you've ever been to Australia, correct?
Yeah.
What is, like, everyone has their stereotypes of other countries. Like, you know, we think most Americans are fat and all that.
Of course. As you should.
Are we living up to all of the stereotypes, and have you gotten what you expected by coming here? Have you experienced much of Australia other than Rottnest?
I had a burger with beetroot on it, and I had no idea what to expect, and it was delicious. I still have to try Vegemite. I haven't tried that yet.
Use a tiny portion.
Just a little bit, I heard. Should I have it with cheese?
Yes.
Okay, I still have to do that. In the US, it's so funny. Have you guys heard of Foster's? Foster's, Australian for beer. No one drinks Foster's here. It's terrible beer. So I had some Australian beer that was delicious. Outback Steakhouse does not exist here. That's good. It's just like an American steakhouse, which is not Australian at all. I was actually really surprised at, especially in Perth, just how much it sort of felt like the US. I didn't really feel like I was halfway across the world. And I thought that was kind of interesting. You know, at Rottnest, I felt a little more like I was further away. But around Perth, it's very similar, actually. And it might be because this is, you know, a city, and I'm not, like, out in the bush. But I definitely have to go out and experience some of the animals. I had no idea kangaroos were that massive. I hear they're huge and just, like, freaking ripped. So I want to see those guys. I'm not going to pick a fight with them. What was that? You do? In the pouch? Or on their back? In the pouch? So I'll want to do that. But yeah, I think also the accent is very different than like the American portrayal of Australian accents. It's a lot more toned down than some American actors do it. So I thought that was pretty interesting. What was that? Oh, really? Really? That's where the thick accent is. So maybe if I ever find my way out on that side of the country, I'll get a different experience. But at least here in Perth, it's not as thick as I would have imagined it. Yeah, it's not like Crocodile Dundee.
Do we use the word mate as much as people think we do?
I don't think anyone has said the word mate since I've been here. There we go, thank you. Do you guys use that? You do?
Generally, once you get friendly with someone, they become mate instead of buddy or friend.
Gotcha. That's good to know. What? G'day? I haven't gotten g'day. That's funny. Yeah, the typical, you know, like words that I would imagine as Australian haven't been as common as I would have thought. Shrimp on the Barbie. There was no shrimp on the Barbie. There were prawns.
Have you tried a kangaroo sausage?
I haven't. That's another thing I'm interested in trying. Is it good? I heard the tail is the best part to eat.
Unless you want to take it on yourself, in which case, fight a kangaroo, you know?
that would be something to take home. Yeah, I got in a fight with a kangaroo while I was there. Come home all beaten, black eyes. What happened to you? Took on a kangaroo, no big deal.
It tasted delicious.
Yeah, there we go. The tail was the best part. What is that? I have no idea what that is. What else should I try? Emu? And it's not emu, it's emu, right? Okay. Dog? You guys don't eat dog, do you? No, a dingo has not eaten my baby since I've been here.
I heard you guys might not have Tim Tams in America.
There aren't. I had a Tim Tam for breakfast, and it was incredible. So, this Tim Tam coffee thing, you bite off both ends of the Tim Tam and drink the coffee through it like a straw, right? Okay. I'm glad I'm doing it the right way. What? No, I don't know what that is. Why are they banned in America? Because someone's going to choke on them? Yeah, of course. So I got to find one of those. What are they? Okay. That sounds good. What do you guys think when you think of like American cuisine? Or like pizza? Supersized? Yeah, I heard your large is like this big. Okay, our large is like this big. It's just like you can live off a large soda for quite a while.
Bryce, we have some more questions. Shall we continue?
All right, yeah, sorry. I'm great at going off on tangents.
Are there still goals in voice acting you would like to achieve?
Goals in voice acting? Absolutely. I would love to work on more prelay shows where they animate to your voice. And I would love to work for more Disney projects and some of the Nickelodeon shows. I mentioned earlier I love SpongeBob. To work on a show like that would be incredible. I think there's still a lot for me to do as a voice actor. Because the life of a voice actor, how long you work can be forever. There's voice actors that are 90 years old. So I just turned 28. So I have a long way to go as an actor. I'm always growing and developing, my skill. And there's a lot for me to do.
I was just wondering, what your favorite role was that you've ever done.
It's so tough to pick just one because the other voices in my head will start fighting me. So I can't just choose one role. I can answer that question with a bunch. A number of the ones that we talked about, Rin, Kirito, Red. I really like playing Maso Mikita in Durarara. The boobylicious line in that show. Has anyone seen Durarara? Nice. So the female lead, she's pretty well endowed up here. So one of the lines in the show, my character is just literally right next to her. talking to the other lead, and he goes, Henri's so boobylicious, so sexy cute. And we came up with that because in the Japanese, they had some other term, and we were looking it up, and bootylicious came up. And the director's like, well, she's not bootylicious, but she's boobylicious. And that's the one that stuck. Yeah, those...
Besides being asked by Meg this morning to sign a potato, what are some of the quirkiest stories that you might have about conferences and your experiences?
So I'm still relatively new to conventions. I haven't had anything too crazy. I think signing a potato is pretty funny, actually. I think that's awesome. That's a great souvenir, as long as you don't eat it. I signed a shoe today also. And I've signed shoes in the past. But I know a bunch of other actors have like crazy stuff that's happened to them. And I've gotten this question before, like, you know, what are the strange things that have happened to you? But nothing strange has happened to me. You know, it's kind of tough to embarrass me, and I always say, like, bring the strange on, come on, guys, and then nothing ever happens, so bring the strange on, come on. I still need that, you know, awkward story or whatever.
G'day, mate. Try Lamingtons. And question, what has been your wackiest, craziest role you've ever been in?
Wackiest, craziest role. I mentioned Henry in Fire Emblem before. I think that was pretty crazy. Just being so excited about blood and guts. Trying to think if there's something that tops that. I'm not sure. I've definitely played little like strange creatures and monsters and things. I worked on a series called Nura. Are you guys familiar with Nura out here? Maybe. It's not as big as Sword Art, but it's another great show. But there were all these yokai, or little demons and weird creatures. So did a bunch of wacky demons in that.
When you mentioned previously that you've worked on .hack.
Yeah.
When you heard the bio for Sword Art, did you just kind of go, yeah, video game, can't log out. I've got this. This is easy.
I thought of .hack as me going into the game as a kid, and Sword Art sort of like the grown-up version of going into the game, but playing a kid. So, I think Sword Art is a similar idea, but extremely different from .hack, especially the .hack I worked on, Legend of the Twilight bracelet. So I'm not sure if the other ones get closer to Sword Art, but I feel like, they're similar, but very, very different when the story, is portrayed and played out.
Hello, hello.
Hey,
Down
I can't
here.
see who's talking to me, by the way.
I am
I'm just
down
like...
here.
All right, hey,
Hello.
how's it going?
Yeah, I'm good. And yourself?
Great, having fun.
Yeah. I'm wondering, can you do, in the most Aussiest accent, say, g'day, mate, how you going? Or something like that.
You guys are going to have to direct me because my Aussie accent is going to sound like a bad American Aussie
like,
accent.
So yeah,
So-
just one shot at it. That's
so you
it,
want-
improvised.
G'day, mate, how's it going?
Yep.
Say,
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
say it again and I'll try to copy you.
G'day, mate, how you going?
G'day, mate, how you going?
Well done. Good job.
Yeah, picking up on it.
You're hired.
Yes.
When you were doing Ren from Blue Exorcist, what was the best experience you got from it?
The best experience working on Blue Exorcist? Do you want to know like during recording or after recording? all around. I think during recording, just sort of seeing how some of the scenes came together. When you're recording on a dub, you're not working with the other actors. So it's you in a booth by yourself. And sometimes you go first, meaning you record your lines before the other actor, and you just have to imagine how they'll sound. So it was a cool experience for me, having some scenes with Johnny Bosch, who plays Yukio, and seeing those brother scenes and how they played out. It's hard not to smile when you watch some of that stuff, and I think I was having a good time when I was recording, and that kind of came through. Have you guys seen the Blue Exorcist movie? Not yet? Maybe one person, two people out here? Okay, so I felt like the series was not long enough. When we finished, it's always bittersweet finishing something because, it's an accomplishment getting through an entire series, but I wanted more. I wanted to continue to be that character and play that character. And when we got to record the Blue Exorcist movie, it was just so much fun to go back and be Rin again. So I'm just hoping that they make a season 2 or they reboot it or they do something so I can go back and be that character again. Because there was just something about that show that was just exciting and fun. And seeing the reaction, my first convention invite was because of Blue Exorcist. I got invited to New York Comic-Con, which is a massive, massive show. There were about 150,000 people there. And the first time I went to an autograph signing, I had no idea what to expect. I was with someone from Aniplex, who's equivalent to Mad Men here. And he was like, we'll show up. If the line is short and you sign for 10 minutes or so, that's fine. We'll just sign as long as it takes, and then we'll head out. Well, we showed up, and there was this massive, massive line. And I'm like, whose line is this? And they're like, these people are here for you and for Blue Exorcist. And I was just blown away. You never imagine that when you're in a booth by yourself recording something, that anyone is really going to hear it. I talked to Vic Mignogna. You guys know Vic Mignogna, right? Okay. I was at a convention with him, and I asked him about his experience at cons and what he thought about them. And he said, doing voice acting is not like doing stage work, where when you give a joke or you do something well, you get applause or a laugh. If you do something well in the booth, all you hear is moving on. That's it. You don't really get that feeling, that sense of, I did something well. But going to a con is like your applause, is like, hearing the laughs. So seeing people who have heard my work and appreciate my work is just an amazing experience. Especially with this con, this is the furthest I've ever been from home. And to see that so many people have heard my work is amazing. It's mind-blowing that my work from just being in a booth in Burbank has made it all the way to the other side of the world. It's such a cool experience. What was that? Yeah, the most isolated city in the world, and it's made it all the way here. It's really, really cool.
Have there been any projects in the past that you've wanted to be a part of, or any in the future that you want to be a part of?
Tons. It's super hard to book a job as a voice actor. I like to work. I audition for things all the time. I tell people if you book 1 out of 100 auditions, you're successful in this industry. The majority of my work is auditioning. So I've read for tons and tons of stuff. In fact, later today, I have to go back to my room and audition for about 8 different characters and send them back to LA. So you're always auditioning. There's always new projects that are popping up. And, there's tons that I'd like to be a part of.
All right. I was asked to stand up, so all right.
All right, now I can see you. I'm like looking around whenever there's a question. It's coming out of this speaker. So every time I'm like, no one's over there.
All right, I was going to ask, have you ever used your amazing voice acting skills to prank call people and then realize that they're anime lovers and they'll be like, oh my god, I'm listening to Rin or Kirito or someone?
Actually, a few people have requested that I call their friends, and that's always funny. I definitely called this one girl, and she knew right away who it was, and all I could hear on the other line was squeeing. Just, It's just awesome. What? Just start a business prank calling people? There we go. Hire a bunch of voice actors to just sit in a room all day and prank call people? We got an idea here. Yeah, I might have to look into this.
What was your favorite cartoon to watch as a kid?
I grew up watching Dragon Ball Z. Yeah. I was, thank you. Yeah, great show. I'm a martial artist also. I started karate when I was 5 years old. So I grew up watching that show, and it would just pump me up and get me ready to go to karate. You know, I wanted to train in high gravity and just fly. So I would hang out and watch Dragon Ball Z with weights on my feet. I was one of those kids. And then go to karate and not be able to fly. But yeah, that was like my favorite show growing up. All right, I think we have time for just one more question.
Hello. I'm a huge fan of Dissidia, and I was hoping you would say the fly away line in Zidane's voice.
The one that you hear every single combo? Sure. Ready?
Yep.
Fly away!
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you so much, guys. This has been such an awesome experience. I have one more panel later today in panel room 7, so definitely stop by and hang out. I want to work on my Aussie accent more, so I'm probably going to have you guys try to teach me to do it better. I think copying you was really, really helpful. So, good day. How do you say bye? What's the Aussie? Is there an Aussie bye? What is that? Pocket rough? Bugger rough. All right, bugger rough. Bugger off. Yeah.
I gotta testify. Come up in the spot looking extra fly. For the day I die, I'ma touch the sky.